They were soldiers in captivity, but nothing prepared them for the sight outside. The barbed wire, women foraging in piles of trash, children gnawing on bread made from sawdust. In the heart of Europe, the war had ended, but the starvation had just begun. By 1945, Germany was in ruins. Allied bombing had collapsed infrastructure and railways. Crops rotted in the fields. When American prisoners captured in late 1944 and early 1945 arrived in Germany, they didn't see triumph or hatred. They saw hunger. The German food situation had been deteriorating since 1942. Rations that once offered meat and milk had shrunk to mere scraps. 2,000 grams of bread and 250 grams of meat weekly, often unavailable at all. Civilians made bread with sawdust fillers to stretch the flour. Soup was boiled from rutabagas, turnips, or even animal feed. As the Reich fell, millions of refugees from the east swelled towns already starving. By 1945, the average German adult survived on barely 200 calories per day, half of what nutritionists considered sustainable. Inside POW camps, American prisoners lived uneasily between hunger and horror. In Stalag Luft III and other camps, rations were minimal but consistent: thin soups, black bread, and occasional Red Cross parcels that became gold. But when those parcels stopped arriving near war's end, Americans saw firsthand how Germans scrounged for survival beyond the fences. German civilians often traded personal keepsakes, watches, rings, family heirlooms, for scraps of potato or a handful of flour. In cities like Dresden and Frankfurt, the black market thrived on desperation. Cigarettes became currency. A single egg cost a week's wages. One American POW recalled watching a German mother boil wallpaper for the flour paste behind it. Others watched bread lines dissolve into riots when rations didn't arrive. Soldiers who had once fought across battlefields now witnessed an enemy. The irony was vivid. Across the Atlantic in U.S. POW camps, German prisoners were dining on 3,500 to 4,000 calories daily and fresh meat, fruit, butter, and even Thanksgiving feasts with turkey and pie. While Germans at home starved on 1 in 200 calories of ersatz food, their captured soldiers were getting ice cream in Mississippi. One POW, Herman Richter, wrote home, "I ate until I was sick, then I ate more. We all did." Those words were censored in Germany because they revealed a devastating truth. The defeated were better fed in enemy hands than their own families could ever dream. Civilians turned to desperate measures, grinding acorn flour into bread, making Ersatzkaffee, coffee from roasted barley and chicory, eating small pets or scavenging livestock that died in bombings, mixing sawdust with potato peelings to stretch food. U.S. occupation policy initially forbade sharing food with German civilians, fearing it would foster sympathy for former enemies. Reports surfaced of U.S. soldiers ordered to pour leftover cocoa or coffee into gutters rather than let starving families have it. For Americans who saw it, the moral shock was overwhelming. Some defied orders, secretly sharing from their rations or trading food with half-starved children. It was an encounter that shattered wartime propaganda and ignited empathy, a realization that the enemy was human. The German famine of 1945-1947 was among the worst humanitarian crises in Western Europe. Over 1 million are estimated to have died from starvation-related causes. Only in 1948, with the Marshall Plan's food shipments and agricultural aid, did conditions begin to stabilize. Many former American POWs later wrote that what they saw changed them forever, altering their view of the post-war order and their role as conquerors. It helped inspire America's emphasis on reconstruction rather than revenge, feeding into the principles that later became part of the European Recovery Program. Those same experiences also sowed the seeds of understanding that shaped the alliance of former enemies, West Germany and the United States, against the new Cold War threat. War had shown them death, but peace revealed something harder to witness: mass hunger among the defeated. American POWs returned home with memories not of victory parades, but of hollow-eyed civilians gnawing at sawdust bread. The lesson endured: wars do not end when guns fall silent. Sometimes they only change shape, from bullets into hunger, from explosions into empty stomachs. But in the ashes of starvation, a new understanding was born, that rebuilding a nation's dignity begins not with weapons but with bread.